Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back with part two of my video about whether Celtic could become world class. And I wanted to apologise for the last video. I wanted to apologise to myself and everyone who might have stumbled across it because I don't think I did a very good job. I think I was in a bit of a rush to go out somewhere, to go to an appointment. I think I forgot a few of my ideas and then stumbled upon upon the video and had a few cringeworthy moments, as I often do. But I love to know what people think. Hope maybe people who watched it might have had a different opinion, and maybe I did a better job than I thought. But I thought it was a pretty poor job. But not that my content is that great anyway. But on that note, as ever, please let me know in the comment section. So I hope you can hear me. So someone's doing some building work next door. But please let me know in the comment section what you think and whether I can improve my videos or how I can improve or basically what I could do better. And any bits you didn't like or do like, negative, positive, or any other comments you want to comment, or anything you want to comment, please feel free to comment in the comment section. And I think that covers everything. I could go into some of the things that went wrong, but I'm not going to go into that list right now. We're going to crack on with the video. So here goes. So these are points or ideas or whatever your thoughts or whatever you want to call them, plans or whatever, number 11 to 20. So I hope Celtic fans all around the world, and as many people as possible, watch these videos, even possibly Rangers fans if they want to, or any other football fans or whoever. Obviously, I welcome any views. So here goes. So number 11, I'd love to know what I know. Thinking about the title, like if I talked about how to help Celtic become world class, I suppose I'm not really giving I'm not giving many particular suggestions. I'm really more asking the questions, I suppose. But I'd love to know what people think Celtic could change, could do to improve. Obviously, that would require change. Like, what do you think Celtic maybe does badly that it could do it to improve upon? Like a lot of people say, reinvesting money on decent signings for the here and now, like not project players, as they say, like who are going to be good in 5 or even 10 years, but players who are going to be good in the short term, who can help us hopefully win this league, which I'm a bit worried about, and many Celtic fans I'm sure would be worried about. I think some people are being too complacent, saying we're definitely going to win the league. I definitely wouldn't say for sure. I think, in fact, if anything, especially if we don't have a good win tonight, I think if we draw or lose, heaven forbid, or even don't win by a fairly big margin, like 3 or 4 goals, maybe even, if we don't win by at least a couple of goals, I think, let's say, preferably more, obviously, but then I think the league is certainly in question. I'd probably put Rangers as favourites now, unfortunately. I've got to admit, it pains me to say it, but I hope I'm wrong, of course, after into being hopefully proven wrong. But yeah, what can the club do to improve? And obviously that requires change. So please post up any ideas for the club in the comment section. Number 12, what, if anything, does the club do well? It would also be interesting to know, because obviously they can build on that momentum. So if they do something well, perhaps that's something they shouldn't stop doing. So if they make changes, I think obviously it's things like maybe recruitment, or not buying project players, but buying players who are ready to perform. Spending, reinvestment, like when we sold Jota, I think a decent, or even a couple of decent replacements should be made. So like, I think the club sold him for like 26 million or something. I know that probably wasn't all profit, but if they could, I think they should have went out and spent like 12 million on one striker and another 12 million on another. So that would be 24 million, maybe even like 12 and a half, 13 million each, or something like that. Although I see 13 is unlucky, but basically, even if they went out and spent like 10 million on a decent striker or whatever, I think a few players that Celtic were linked to, like Miovski, I think is one, who scored against us, I believe. Marco Silva, the other players I can't remember that, Shankland, and probably one or two others who we've been linked with, have scored crucial goals in recent, or at least scored goals in recent games. So people say it's typical that players we were linked to have done well, and Celtic didn't sign them in the January, or even get them on loan. So that's a shame. Again, I hope you can hear me, because there's construction work going on next door or whatever. But I forgot my point. What I was going to say. I will say I hope to do reaction videos as well to Celtic content if and when I can on YouTube. I'll often do like reaction videos and that kind of thing. But yeah, what does the club do well? What should it keep doing well? And now I remember my chain of thought. I was thinking like, what if Brendan Rodgers humbles himself enough? Like some people say he's a bit arrogant or possibly a bit stubborn, at least with his tactics, possibly a bit of both, or maybe stubbornness is kind of a part of arrogance, maybe. But perhaps he could ask people like Joe Hart or Callum McGregor and Stroke or Cameron Carter-Vickers, I couldn't remember his name then, and some of those other players who played, even Kyogo, but especially the first two or three, I think he could ask them, like, what did Ange do well? What could I learn from him? And maybe humble himself. Maybe that's the sign of a good manager and a good coach or whatever, that they can take other people's ideas and incorporate them and just like in business, perhaps taking other people's ideas and incorporating them. But I'd say I'd love to know what you think Celtic could do well. I'd love us to go back maybe to that style and Chad. Maybe Brendan Rodgers could look back at some of those videos and think, what could I do similar? What can I incorporate from that? And what can I learn from that and incorporate into my own coaching strategy? And again, maybe asking some of the players, like, what could I do to improve as well? So humbling himself and maybe finding out from other managers as well. Maybe surprising people, like people think, oh, this is the way Brendan plays, so we set up against that, but then he plays a different way. A different manager plays. So I suppose that actually would be point number 11. But anyway, moving on, number 13, my fears for the season and my fears for Celtic. I imagine Rangers fans would mock my video, and also, part one at least of this, and also here's some of my cringeworthy moments. And my other fear is whether people will like these videos or not. And hopefully it was better than I thought, and also hopefully I'll improve as I go along. So hopefully part one was the worst of the four, which I hope to make, obviously this being the second one. So hopefully I'll progressively get better and save the best till last, all being well, hopefully. So please watch this space. My fear is that Rangers will win 2 or even 3 trophies, like winning a treble, and maybe even do well, maybe even win in Europe. I hope they won't win, even if they get to the final and lose. Hopefully that will give them a distraction, which will mean that they won't get a trophy at the end of the day. Well, they might get a lot of prize money, perhaps, but they won't get a trophy at the end of the day. And if they lose on penalties like they did recently, that'd be quite funny. I think I can't remember if it was last season or the season before, where they lost on penalties to a German team. Normally I don't like German teams that much, but in this case, I do admire their style of football, but that's something, again, Celtic could perhaps learn from as well. For any Germans out there or any German football fans, I do admire your football. It's just that it's sort of too good in many cases, just like Brazil. But anyway, I do feel like Rangers winning 3 or even 4 trophies this season, that would be a nightmare. And also stealing a march on, so to speak. So with that money they get and the I was going to say pride, the confidence and positivity that could bring them, and especially if we lose confidence as well, it could mean that they go and win 2 or 3 seasons in a row. So I hope not. Obviously, these are my fears in terms of Celtic, and just as we caught them up as well, we had just a few trophies behind them overall. But anyway, I'm going to move on from point number 13 from those negative things. But yeah, that would be my fear. Obviously, they've won, but they're going to be favourites, and they're probably going to take it from us this time. So I hope not. But yeah, that's my fear. And again, if they get that confidence, positivity, and a lot of money, and Philippe Clement, or whatever his name is, however you pronounce it, Philippe Clement. I was going to say, he reminds me of Clementines, and Rangers often call the orange. So anyway, number 14, I hope that the club can solve lots of problems, but in doing so, hopefully improve its PR and image for all the charitable work it does and stuff like that, and solving problems around the world, including in developing nations as well as in Glasgow and Scotland itself. And again, I hope it also, on the pitch as well, I hope it will prevent some of these problems, like Rangers getting ahead. And I know when they beat us in the 10 in a row season, like a lot of Rangers fans mocked us, of course, which I can understand. I'm sure it would be the same the other way around, and like after we mock each other, of course. But people probably thought that Celtic were not going to win for a long time, and then a season later we started winning again. So if that is the case, maybe we could bounce back. But I think if Rodgers doesn't win a trophy this season, I think there should be no bonuses. Two, I think there should probably be a way where the players don't get paid as much as if we win trophies, so there's more of an incentive. Although I think they should have an incentive anyway, but hopefully money would be, as I say, money talks. And the other thing is maybe Brendan Rodgers' style will be proven to be a bit old school, a bit too old school for the modern age. So I think he's got to save his career. I don't know why anyone in the EPL would take him on if he can't win with Celtic in a two-horse race. How is he going to do well in a more competitive league? And also, after getting relegated with Leicester as well. And but yeah, I wonder if he should stay on, like if his football's not seeming to improve. So I think he's got a lot of work to do to prove he can be adaptive to the modern game, and he can go on, most importantly, win trophies. Anywho, moving on. Number 15. My dreams for Celtic. I talked about the nightmare vision, like about Rangers winning so many trophies, like winning 2, 3, or even 4 trophies. And my dream vision is like Celtic will win this league and it will feel really good because it looks like it's going to be a real challenge. As I say, I'm not very confident. Some people are being really complacent, saying Celtic are still going to win, but I think if recent results are to go anything by, it could be them lot that win it, them lot across the road. But just like last time when we were struggling, hopefully Celtic, when they was under pressure and people were calling Brendan Rodgers, calling him out or saying he's not good, saying he's not good enough or whatnot, he turned it around. So I hope he can do the same again this time, and prove critics, including myself, perhaps even wrong. And I'd love to be proven wrong. When, as I say, a pessimist loves to be proven wrong, but I love to see Celtic be able to get lots of investment and sponsorship and do really well, and turn this season around, and then from next season really start winning again. I mean, if the next decade or so is the same as the last decade for Celtic, I think it'd be pretty good, even though they mock us, like the Rangers mock us for not being able to win 10 in a row, but we still won 9 league titles and so many cups and like trebles and things like that. So even if we won like 9 trophies in a row, at the moment it's looking difficult to even win 3. So if we won like 9 trophies in a row and didn't manage to win 10, obviously I'd rather win 10, and it's like feels a lot more than 9, even though it's only one more. But yeah, getting that into double figures and that kind of thing. But even if Celtic win just 9, and as I say, even if we win by like a point, we probably weren't very good from the heart. But as long as we get that prize money and like the confidence and things like that, and hopefully take away confidence from the Rangers, that'd be pretty cool. So I'd love to see how Celtic could become world class. And I think it's really important to start this season to build towards that goal, towards that dream. And I'd love for the club to have fans all around the world, investment, sponsorship, shareholders, equity holders, and things like that. Look at if the fans can invest in or even donate to the clubs I talked about in part 1. Number 16, once again, I'd love to read people's comments and hear from people like the Celtic fans, and maybe network with them on Zoom and things like that, and discuss like what Celtic fans' dreams are for the club and what Celtic fans would like to see. Again, I think it'd be interesting if there was like a poll, see how many people are happy with Brendan Rodgers, and how many think he's the right man for the job, and how many would replace him with someone else. And if so, who? I suppose that's part of the equation. Like a lot of people talk about sack the board. Some people probably even want Brendan Rodgers out and things like that, for instance, and that kind of thing. But I suppose the other part of the equation is who do we get to replace those people if we do get rid of them? Like who would come in and change? Who would come in to Celtic in the Scottish League and like take over? And how can we ensure that we don't get into a situation like Man City where they might get demoted even, or a lot of points taken away from them and things like that? So how can we make sure we don't fall foul of FFP and things like that? And what can be learned? But basically, generally, I'd love to know what ideas people have for improving Celtic. Like what would you like to see, and what do you think could help Celtic to be as good as possible, maybe even world class? Do you think that's possible? That'd be interesting to know, and that kind of thing. Number 17, I'd say it would be hard to see Celtic being in Scotland as being able to be world class, being able to get that investment, and also, as people say, the board is really tight, and that kind of thing. But I think it'd be interesting in the future. I'd love to see Celtic win like a Conference League, a Europa League, maybe even a Champions League, a World Club Cup even, um, and which would be even better than '67, where Celtic got to win the Champions League or the equivalent of the Champions League, but didn't manage quite to win the World Club Cup. So it's a competition Celtic have never won, but that would be pretty cool to see if Celtic could win that, and also a Super Cup and things like that. I think it'd be cool if they won all those 5 international, European and international trophies, using my imagination. Um, but I dream for them to win that in the next 5 to 10 years. Like a lot of people are talking about competing in Europe this season, but I said in Brendan Rodgers' first season, I'd be happy with at least 1 trophy, preferably 2 or even 3. But Europe would be a bonus, or maybe even a distraction. Maybe that's something that could be built on next season and beyond, with more investment and things like that, with more time. For the first season, it would take a while to get into it, which has been proven to be correct. Number 18, what are some positive things about Celtic? I'd love for people to share positive things, like the childhood work it does, and things like that. I can't really think of anything else that could be added to that at the moment, but off the top of my head. But yeah, I'd love to know that kind of thing. At number 19, I'd also love for Celtic to do a lot of work in supporting Indigenous, African, and Australasian software developers. 20, also in STEM and also helping young people. And yeah, I'd love to know, as I say, what you think, especially Celtic fans all around the world. What would you love to see? What do you think the club could change? How do you think the club could attract more investment, attract a larger fan base, and things like that? I'd love to know. Anyway, I'm out.